Welcome to Chris Parkin Shooting Sports. Big review today. This is a Nightforce ATACR from Sportsman Gun Centre. Now this is the most expensive rifle scope I've ever used or reviewed. It's £4,418 and this is the 7-35 magnification with a 56mm objective lens, and it's the F1 spec scope with the mil-C reticle. So that means it's first focal plane, it's fully mil-radian, matching turrets, zero lock. It's got everything on it. This is a serious premium scope designed for extreme long range shooters, and also PRS competitors. Now for £4,418 you're obviously expecting a lot from your rifle scope, and I have actually already used this because I wanted to kind of key up on it just before I unboxed it on video. I used it on the CZ600 in 308. It performed superbly well, but this is going to be a more detailed review on the actual scope itself. But just to look at what comes in the box so far, you've obviously got the scope. Just ignore the fact that put the wheeler rings on it. It's got Tenebrex front and rear scope caps, and you've got everything you could ever want from the turrets on this 34mm tube. Massive elevation adjustment, windage adjustment, which is capped under here, and it's also got the digital illumination system on the side here. So we'll cover that more when we actually get out and use it. Now this one is in mil-radians. It's also available in minutes of angle. So I've got, you know, nice 1cm 0.1 milliradian clicks, and on that dial there I have 12 mils per rotation entirety. Now if you have it in the minutes of angle version, this one's got 100 minutes of angle adjustment, and the equivalent on this scope is 29 milliradians, because of course this is the milliradian scope. To be fair, milliradians is my preference, but some people do still like minutes of angle, so the choice is yours. And of course you can have matching reticle to go with the turrets you choose. Being first focal plane, the reticle and the turrets match each other precisely. So I'll just pop this to one side for the second and go through what else is in the box. We have a detailed instruction manual which covers all the features, functionality and everything you need to know about this scope, setting it up, and particularly things like the zero stop, which zero stops can be quite complicated, and it's important you set them up correctly. It's as you need them for your specifications and your shooting requirements. Other things in the box, we have got the tool here for setting up said elevation turret, and this is quite a nice triangular tool. Oops, a bit stuck in the packet here, and that's got the 3 very fine Torx keys on it which are needed to adjust the turret. I'll leave that back in there for now. Other things in the box, we have a nice Nightforce sticker, and in the far end here we've got more goodies. Dig through it. A lanyard Nightforce cleaning cloth. We've got a sunshade as well. That looks like about a 50mm sunshade. We'll check that when we get it out shooting. And other things in the box, that seems to be it for the box. But also here we've got the go string here, which goes on the windage dial if you want to leave it off the full time, and that go string there basically covers these threads here, so you can set it up as that if that's how you're going to shoot with the scope. To be honest, that would be my preference, so let's put that on now. I'll go over there, and that just fits like that. Cover those threads, keep everything looking neat and tidy, and you can leave that back in the box if you're not going to be using it. And of course those clicks have got lovely, delightful detents to them, so you can just gently hear them and you can feel them too. So let's just do the quick blind test on that one. I'll go 19 clicks. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19. 19 clicks, and there we go. So that is showing 19 clicks as I've just adjusted it. And sometimes that's useful because you don't want to be looking at the scope and you want to trust the fact that you can set it up reliably on your own. And of course it has got a zero stop, which once set up means you can just go clunk, back down to, say, 100 yard, 100 meter zero, and you are ready to go upward from there. Right. The ring's already on it. I'm going to put this on a 223 Wild rifle, which is shooting the 73 grain Hornady ELD-M bullets. It's a great rifle. I enjoy using it. It's accurate, it's precise, and I can use it all day. A couple of the things to look at on this scope which are a bit different to usual. I'm just going to take the Tenebrex cover off the back so I can show you properly and move that out of the way as well. So Reticle focus is on the back here, and it's got a lock ring assembly, so you can focus the reticle like that to suit your exact eyesight, and then when it's actually in position you bring the lock ring back and tension those two together. Now it's very important that you do tension those tight together. One thing that's interesting about this Nightforce scope is that the whole ocular body rotates with magnification variance. So as you dial this up and down, you've got the collar here which has got knurling on it, but sometimes it's easier just to get hold of the whole thing because the whole thing does turn, but that also means that the Tenebrex cap will turn with it as well. So you need to make sure that's loose and you can set that to the position you want. Now the last thing to address is what's called the power throw lever, and this comes in this very nice bright orange envelope which I've got to rip open, and that will then pop out, and there we go, that's the power throw lever. So if I take the triangular tool with the largest torques on there, I can remove the grub screw from the magnification control dial, and I can pop the throw lever back in position. I'm just going to put that back in there, and that will nip back tightly in place, and that's not going to get lost anywhere. And of course the power throw lever means you've got much faster control of zoom on the scope without so much touching the ocular bell at the back end. Right, let's have a look at this reticle. It is a beautiful reticle because it's got masses of free space on it. The definition, clarity and contrast of it are perfect, and you can set them up for absolutely crisp focus. That's one of the joys of a Nightforce scope, and one of the reasons that this scope is so expensive, because it is made to the absolute premium standards that you can expect. The warranty on it is unbeatable, and this will dial and dial back and dial and dial back in both windage and elevation till the cows come home, and you are not going to have a problem with it tracking. Right, let's get it mounted to a rifle and let's go shooting. Magnification is 7-35 times. Reticle is in the first focal plane. Overall tube diameter is 34mm, and overall length of the scope is 406mm, which is 16 inches. There's 167mm of mounting space spread either side of the scope saddle, which is 6.6 inches, and overall weight is 1113 grams or 39.3 ounces. The scope is available in minutes of angle or milliradians, and it's got 100 minutes of elevation travel or 29 milliradians if you prefer that one. Corresponding windage travel is 60 minutes of angle or 17 milliradians. Left side parallax runs from 11 yards or 10 metres all the way to infinity, and eye relief is a nice compact 3.6 inches, which is 19mm, so you don't have issues with extra long eye relief. Field of view on 7 times is 15 feet at 100 yards or 5 metres at 100 metres. On 35 times magnification, that's 3.4 feet or 1.1 metres. The exit pupil on 7 times is 6mm, and at 35 times is 1.6mm. So the eye box does become more critical, but you do have that higher magnification to use for it. Well, we've got to start out by saying this is a very expensive optic. Now, how does it justify that price? Well, number one, you've got the Nightforce name reputation, the limited lifetime warranty. The clicks on it are precise and the tracking is perfect. I have wound up and down, up and down, up and down, left and right, and my zero is the same. Now, it was a windy day, so the groups aren't teeny tiny perfect, but that's the reality of shooting outdoors. The Tenebrex scope caps are tough and durable, although I would say you might want to put the rear one on loose because you are going to be turning the magnification ring up and down, and of course when the Tenebrex is on, that does of course move with it, which is not perfectly ideal, but there are some benefits to that I'll cover in a moment. I'm just going to pop that off just for now. Now, the big benefit of that is you have seemingly in here got an optical mechanism which is giving you absolutely superb visual capability. The clarity, the resolution, and also the image color contrast is absolutely superb, and the focal area is absolutely flat from complete edge to complete edge. The reticle is beautifully crisp and you can get absolutely precise focal control for your diopter of your own eyes on that reticle using this back end here on the ocular with the lock ring. Now, yes, there is a slight downside to that in the fact the whole thing rotates, but I think if you're not using the Tenebrex scope caps all the time, you're not really going to suffer for that. And I think for extreme long range shooting, competition shooting, things like that, you will benefit from the optical improvements available. Again, the eye relief of 90mm does also bring the optical factor that you are seemingly more immersed in the visual landscape that the scope presents to you. When you've got 100mm magnum eye relief, you do tend to be spaced quite a long way back from the scope, and sometimes you do feel a little bit more distance from it. A little bit more distance from the image and of course the environment you're within, but on this you do feel close in, you do feel immersed within it, and of course you're generally going to be using this scope on a lesser recoil rifle. I've used this on the 223 Wild here, I've used it on the 308 CZ600 MDT with a muzzle brake on it, which was very low recoil. I've also used one in the past on Accuracy International rifles and Steyr rifles as well. Again, big, heavy, long range, precision tactical rifles, very low recoil and lots of physical mass to absorb what recoil there is. I would go as far as to say the eye box is indulgent, and the thing is, when you're going through that short recoil stroke, you do not lose the image, you do not lose focus, and you can spot the bullet trace, you can spot the bullet impact, and it is something that's hard to go away from and leave behind, because I have to say it's a pleasure to use a reticle system and an optic like this because of that clarity, flexibility and relaxed nature. It's an optically, visually relaxed environment entirely. The digital illumination system on the side is easy to use. A quick press turns it on, a longer press turns it off. Quick presses in between times incrementally goes through the actual intensity settings, and if you do a long 5-second press on there, you can actually swap from red to green reticle illumination, whichever you prefer. Most of the reticle is lit up, although it was very hard to photograph because I was out on a very bright days with it. And one other thing I will say is about photographs through this scope do not really truly represent the capability the optic has. Another restriction of the rotating ocular body is you can't add rear cameras or night vision devices either, because of course that's going to rotate around with the scope and it's going to make it ineffective in use. But that's not really what this scope is designed for. This scope is designed for long range precision, multiple ranges, lots of dialing up and down, and perfect tracking. Now, just to talk about the tracking, I have now got this set up and zero. The zero stop is set up, and I can wind up there, and I've got about 15 and a half milliradians of travel left for longer range performance. Of course, that is something you're going to set up for your scope and your requirements and uses. You can use different rails, you can use different rings to change elevation requirements you need. But essentially, the tracking is what you're paying for on this, and it is perfect. And that zero stop is lovely and precise. It just goes click, simple stop, just like that, and it's easy to set up. You get the triangular tool with it, and it's the third or the largest of the Allen keys on here. And all you have to do is slacken off the 2 grub screws either side of the turret, and that will then just very gently lift off. It warns you not to lose the O-rings, not to change the lubrication, nothing like that. And then essentially what you have to do once it's zeroed is you loosen these 4 screws here, and when they're loosened off, you rotate that dial all the way clockwise until it stops. And when it stops, you nip them back down to 4 inch-pounds, put the dial, turret, cap back on, and retension it back in position. And you can feel when you're holding that down, it is airtight, and that is a testament to the fact that the scope is fully waterproof, and you are not going to have any problems or issues with water ingress into the optic. Just simply put that back in place, nip those up, and you've got your zero stop perfect. Same for the windage, just loosen the 2 screws, change the dial. It will not click as the dial itself floats, which is nice because it means you're not, unsure if it's moving or adjusting anything inside, and it is my preference to have a system like that. As I showed you at the start when I was unboxing, you have the ghost string on here, and that allows you to just cover those threads up if you want to leave that turret exposed. If you want to leave the side under the cap, pop it back on like that, and you've got the 2 options there. There's plenty to grip on both the turrets. It's easy to hold on to, whether you've got bare hands or gloves, no issue at all. And again, The magnification is quite stiff, but there's no internal perception of movement and there's certainly no noise from it. And that throw lever is very much appreciated on this scope because it allows you to adjust it more quickly, more smoothly and easily. The sunshade is 76mm, so that's 3 inches long. That'll suit some people in certain conditions, and of course you can take the Tenebrex cover off, screw that in, change over for using that when you want to use that. Not everybody leaves sunshades on because they often don't quite fit in rifle cases. And the last thing I'm going to do is just going to cover a little bit about this manual. The manual is detailed, it has a lot of instructions in it, all the things about the turret adjustment, all the torque settings you need and require, and it also assures you of the fact that things like reticle setup in the Nightforce, that Nightforce reticle is guaranteed absolutely perfectly parallel with the lower surface on the underside of the scope, so that when you're leveling up reticles you can use shim systems and make sure that everything is lined up absolutely to engineering precision, not just optical pleasure. I think to sum up, the Nightforce ATACR 7-35x56 is a superb scope. With the F1 first focal plane specification, it is one of the best long-range precision and tactical adjusting scopes I've ever used. The adjustments on it are so quick, clean, easy, precise and assured that you don't ever doubt anything when you are in that position of taking the shot, watching the wind movement, things like that. The optical system gives you great resolution, so you can see all those little bushes, branches, grasses moving around, and you can see your bullet in flight, and you can see the impact, and you can see the hole in the target. The reticle inside isn't too busy. It's got perfect hash marks set up to make sure that you can aim off in correct precision, and it absolutely agrees with the dialed corrections you might make to the elevation or the windage turret. Right, I hope you've enjoyed that review. Please like, subscribe, comment, click the notification bell to keep track of the regular uploads. Thank you for watching. Bye for now, because I'm taking this home.